Hey guys, Kyle here with Build 3 Pass, and today we're bringing you our new My Hero Academia format deck profile, and it is Ochaco. This character is awesome. I've been goofing around with various builds of her for a while, and I pretty much settled on the normal build that most people seem to be settling on, which is her life build. But let's jump into it. So Ochaco is a 6-hander with 27 life. She says respond after your charge or high attack resolves. You immediately add it to your momentum. That ability is very powerful. She's just basically stat momentum on a character. She can also commit her character for 3 speed to her attack and grab one of her momentum and add it to her hand, thus making her essentially a 7-hander. Ochaco is an extremely powerful and aggressive character that's really good at turning 1 or 2 attacks into several attacks. So, Ochaco. And we will now jump into the attack lineup. There we go. Alright, so first up, of course, 4 copies of her ultra rare Meteor Shower. Meteor Shower, I mean, what more can be said about this card? This card is phenomenal. 4 high for 5 on a 4 diff. Checks a 3. You can discard a card from your hand if it's in momentum to add it from your momentum to your hand. And you can also discard one of your momentum to add it from your discard pile to your momentum. And it goes to momentum face up. It's your kill card. This card is how you pound people into the ground. It is an extremely powerful card. So 4 copies of Meteor Shower. And to go with our 4 copies of Meteor Shower, 4 Amphibious Ambush. Meteor Shower and Amphibious Ambush can set up a 5 attack chain that is extremely powerful for 2 attacks. So, and Amphibious Ambush stuffs cards with text off of your opponent's board into their pool, which just makes you more and more difficult to deal with as your chains go on. So Amphibious Ambush is just a really good card for the deck. So 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Zero Gravity Lift, Ochaco's Throw. It's one of the few throws in this format. It's a very powerful throw, and it forces cards into your momentum, allowing you to set up your loops even more. All around, it's just a very solid card. So 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Tongue Smack. Cards leave your pool in this deck, and so Tongue Smack can be active a lot, and you commit your character, so you can get that benefit off of Tongue Smack as well. It's just all around a solid card for the deck, just a strong extension piece. So 4 copies of Tongue Smack. And to close it out, I'm trying this out right now. 2 Home Run Comet. This card can end games out of nowhere. It's not always amazing, but I mean, at the very least, it's a 4 diff that generates you momentum and forces a block or forces 4 damage through. So it's a perfectly fine card. It's a strong card. It can end games sometimes out of nowhere. So 2 copies of that. And that is our attack lineup. Next, we'll move on to our asset. Just 1 asset. Trey's Chic Cape. It just allows you to unflip cards and get multiple uses out of your cards with the flip cost. All around a solid card, so 1 copy of that. And we'll jump into the foundations next. Moving right along here. 4 copies of Passing the Torch. What more can be said about Passing the Torch, really? It's a phenomenal card. It either draws you 1, or if you have no cards in your hand, draws you 2. That ability is extremely powerful, especially in My Hero format. So 4 copies of Passing the Torch. 2 copies of Rescue Completed. This is another card that I just think is going to be a staple in My Hero as time goes on. It's a very powerful card. You can either blow it up to untap 2 face down foundations, which is really good, or you can it allows you to commit your foundations for either +1 or -2 speed. It's just a very good speed hate card and can, you know, boost a little bit of extra speed when you need it to. So 2 copies of that. 2 copies of Encouraged Training Partner. A little bit of extra healing when you need it, and the main thing is it reduces speed by a lot. It is heavy speed reduction, which is always really good. There's not a ton of speed reduction in My Hero. There's some, but not a ton. And so this card does a very good job of hating on speed. So 2 copies of that. And to close out our high difficulty foundations, we have 2 copies of Wall Cling. Wall Cling is, I mean, it's just a staple. You have to have it against the Shigaraki matchup. You have to have it against the couple of different characters that are running throws or changing zones or doing whatever. It's just all around a really good card. So 2 copies of Wall Cling. And now on to our spams. 4 copies of Amphibious. Cards leave your pool in this deck, so Amphibious is active. It is a very strong spam foundation. Just allows you to extend your turns a little bit, which is good in a deck like this that is trying to play multiple attacks and get long strings off. So 4 copies of Amphibious. 4 copies of Infinite Potential. Its stats are really good. It's a 1 high block. It's a spam. And then also, if you have high attacks and can't block whatever they're throwing at you, it allows you to, or high blocks, it allows you to change the zone to high. So just all around a solid card. Not as good as Tape, which is the other card that I run in a lot of my builds, as you all know, that changes zones, but it is still very solid. So 4 copies of Infinite Potential. 4 copies of Preparing for Battle. It just allows you to filter out some of your cards a little bit, try and get into those extra things. Plus, also, it's a low block with Breaker, so it's just a solid defensive card. So, 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Self-Sacrifice. We mainly run this because it is a 1 low block, which is just very, very powerful. But it can come in handy every once in a while. You can use it to blow up your own foundations if you want to open yourself up out of deadlock. And also, it gives plus or minus 1 damage when you do that. So, I mean, it's a solid card. So, 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Recovery Girl's Kiss. 2 mid block, always solid. And then it heals yourself 1. On occasion, that can save you. So, 4 copies of that. 4 copies of Tight-Lipped. Allows you to flip a foundation for a damage. And it's got a 1 mid block. That's the main reason we're running it. It's just got a really good zone. But the extra damage can come in handy on occasion. There is not a ton of damage pump in this deck. So, 4 copies of Tight-Lipped. And next up, 2 copies of A Precious Lesson. A Precious Lesson is in this deck because it fights Shigaraki. You have a couple cards in this deck that can trigger it, but the main thing is that it fights Shigaraki, which can be a very scary matchup. So, 2 copies of that. And finally, 2 copies of Release. Destroy one of your foundations for +2 to your check to block. Just allows you to guarantee your blocks. So, just all around a strong card. So, 2 copies of Release. And now we'll move on to our sideboard. Very quick video today. There's not a ton to be said about this character or the cards that it does, or the cards that she has. She has very simple cards and creates very complex chains with her attack lineups. And she's pretty straightforward as a character, so there's just not much to be said about her. So 4 copies of Bonds of Friendship. It's a staple in the sideboard. 1 high block if you need more highs. Checks a 6, which is always nice, and it fights Furies. So 4 copies of that. 2 more copies of A Precious Lesson for when you do indeed run into that Shigaraki matchup. So 2 copies of that. 2 copies of encouraging training partner. Just a little bit of extra speed hate if you're facing something like, say, Ida. 2 more copies can come in handy. So 2 copies of that. And to close it out, 2 more copies of Wall Cling, again, for that Shigaraki matchup, or for, anybody that's running a bunch of throws. So, there's that. Alright, guys, and that was the video. Like I said, it's a short one. There's just not a ton to be said about Ochaco. She's a very straightforward deck, and her foundations are very simple, but effective. I think she's probably in the top 5 characters in My Hero right now. At the lower end of that spectrum, but I do think she's probably top 5 characters in My Hero right now. She's just all around a very, very powerful character. And y'all should give her a try. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.